Skipping the fluffy intro this time around, let's jump into this retrospective that will be exclusive to this series. After the last Sakura Wars failure to stay afloat in Japan, the main franchise was all but cancelled. Year in and year out, there was no word of another entry. Even if the Hanagumi and Hoshigumi no longer had staying power as icons in the gaming space, the brand was very much alive to a certain degree. After a 2-year disappearance from the global market, PC ports of the 4 original games roared onto the scene. With In Hot Blood nowhere to be found, these new reiterations tried to spruce up what was old for a new audience. Little did they know these would finally be the first games to reach the rest of the world, but not in the ways they expected. Instead of heading to North America, where many fans waited for them, the series instead turned to the obscure home of one of its main characters, Russia. It is unknown how well it did there, but the niche popularity of the series seemed to translate over to another country, further extending the franchise's reach. After this, the series animation tried to make a comeback. Sakura Wars New York, New York tried to do what Sakura Wars the movie had done before it, and continue where the story left off. Following the New York combat review in their battle against the ancient Egyptian king, Tutankhamun. Instead of following New York's main protagonist, Shinjiro Taiga, as his standard self, for the most part he donned the persona of Peppermint, introduced and used for a short time in Sakura Wars 5. While bizarre at times, the series tried to recreate the feeling of playing through one of the games, with boss battles and romantic interactions aplenty. But compared to other OVAs and adaptations, the popularity of this entry is moot. After a few months, it faded into obscurity just like the rest of the franchise. But that doesn't mean they didn't try. With the spin-off and side story culture of the series being ever present, a new team was put together to take advantage of that. Releasing in March of 2008 for the Nintendo DS, the culmination of their efforts was Dramatic Dungeon Sakura Wars Because You Were There, a roguelike dungeon crawler. In a genuine attempt to rekindle the Sakura Wars legacy, Sega advertised it as a completely new franchise, even though it was clearly using mechanics that gained popularity with the Shiren the Wanderer series, with Sakura Wars storytelling. But unlike other games, there was an unusually brief amount of time spent on the story. Taking place 1 year after Sakura Wars 5, Yonoda has retired, promoting Ogami to commander of the Tekkokaigen. During a performance of The Maid of Orleans by Tchaikovsky, Joan of Arc herself appears, causing a calamitous event that transforms Tokyo, Paris, and eventually New York into monster-filled labyrinths that incapacitate Kobu. The members of the 3 respective combat troops have no choice but to delve deep into these dungeons and investigate. As the game moves on, you gain control of Shinjiro as well, ultimately allowing you to create a party of your own choosing from the 18 cast members. The game seemed to be the continuation of the series that fans weren't expecting, but could appreciate. 7 years on, and a sequel has never materialized since, marking this as what seems to be the true finale for the series, in canon. But America would have to say differently. After years of patience and indifference from the Japanese franchise, the 5th entry, the one that was meant for them all along, finally reached stateside. Beginning the import process in 2008, the niche Japanese import publisher NAS America took on the job. Taking 2 years to fully translate every line of text and dialogue, the team worked at a furious and somewhat hellish pace. Once their work was complete, they released it as a retitled Sakura Wars So Long My Love for the good old PlayStation 2 and for the Wii in North America and Europe exclusively. The hard work and dedication of the team at NAS didn't help this entry, however. While finding the right actors to suit the roles and changing things around a bit seemed like it could appeal to American audiences, they were sadly mistaken. Selling less than 100,000 units, the game was all but a failure in America, even by NASA standards. Many factors contributed to this. Releasing a 5-year-old game on the then dying Wii and the now defunct PlayStation 2, their respective audiences were disappearing at a rapid rate. Bad marketing and literally no word of mouth left an American populace to not even know of its existence. And because of all this and the working conditions that were maintained, NAS America, the one publisher that was truly willing to take on Sakura Wars, will never do so again, truly marking the end of the main franchise for good. Unless a bit of false hope was added in. Circa late 2010, just around the release of Sakura Wars 5 in America, there was a new image floating around Twitter. The new image said Sakura Wars 6 Stronger Than Love, and seemed to depict a new setting of Germany, which had been hinted at in Sakura Wars New York, New York. On top of all this, Oji Hiroi himself teased of a new Sakura Wars project for later that year. Instead of a sequel, the newly announced Sakura Wars Taisho Roman Academy was nothing of the sort. A browser-based game, unlike Dramatic Dungeon, Roman Academy tried to emulate what the series had done best, with a social twist. Taking place in the titular Roman Academy, players would create their own characters to interact with other players and other Sakura Wars cast members alike, echoing Sakura Wars Online's desires. For the most part, the game is a pure strategy RPG, devolving back into the isometric grids of old from the ARM system. Little information is known about the impact of this title in Japan, but suffice it to say, it's just like the rest, fading more and more into obscurity. But there is still more to come, something that was quite bizarre, yet fitting to the mythos. Sakura Wars Kanadagumi, starting in 2011, was a collaboration with long-running popular girls manga magazine, Hanato Yume, that reverses the series' classic trope and puts a female protagonist in a troupe of charming men. The story follows Neko Miyabi, who's come to Tokyo to join the classic Kanagumi as a performer, but ends up getting assigned to the orchestra group, or Kanadagumi. Of course, it turns out the orchestra is also a secret combat squadron for battling demons. But this time, instead of the kobu, they fight with their own musical instruments. The Kanadagumi were even popular enough to receive their own anime adaptation, and perform stage shows just like the old Hanagumi and Hoshigumi. While this was still the final manga adaptation for the series, there were still 2 games awaiting in the wings, and they weren't what fans wanted. Sakura Wars All-Star Collection and Sakura Wars for Mobage were 2 final entries that were hoping to cash in on what little was left of the series. All-Star Collection was a trading card game, in lieu of popular ones such as Hearthstone, while also including classic Lips gameplay with little else. Sakura Wars for Mobage, on the other hand, was a social and trading card game hybrid, using the ever-popular Mobage platform developed by Gree. The game used some elements from the franchise, but mostly changed it to the platform's liking. The iconic designs of the original characters were replaced with hypersexualized versions of themselves, further deteriorating the franchise's image and fans' opinions alike. While these cash grabs were a slap in the face to fans, one new franchise would try to do them a service: Project Cross Zone. Fighting alongside classic Sega, Namco, and Capcom characters, such as Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter and Yuri Lowell from Tales of Vesperia. The game was the ultimate title for fan service, of a less titillating kind. Having Sakura, Erika, Gemini, and Ogami fighting amongst these icons left players in awe and amazement, and its fighting system was nearly a return to form for the franchise. Even Sakura herself was put on the cover art right next to other legends, cementing the importance of the franchise for all. Even now, a sequel to this newly beloved franchise is in the works, and Sakura Wars is once again taking the lead. But as of now, this is where it all ends. Where the franchise could go from here is anyone's guess. All fans have now is the series' iconic music by Kohei Tanaka that can bring out any emotion in you, from sadness to joy. While some franchises today struggle to have a musical footprint, Sakura Wars has music that anyone can instantly recognize and relate to. Music that can appeal to a variety of cultures, from Japanese to French to old American jazz tunes. Other than this, the longest running medium for Sakura Wars has actually been the stage show. After nearly 2 decades, the series is still going strong, with nearly the entire cast in tow, performing new and unique plays that have the same depth from their earlier years. Even when Sumeri's voice actress, Michi Tamizawa, announced her retirement back in 2002, there was still a special melodramatic farewell stage show that was assembled just for her final performance, as no Sakura Wars heroine can retire without fanfare. But how has the franchise affected the gaming industry itself? Well, after Sakura Wars' success on the Sega Saturn, many others tried to recreate its magic, attempting to blend the visual novel and dating elements into a standard RPG framework. Thousand Arms took a less pure-hearted approach, but combined dating and RPG mechanics into a steampunk world. Langressor 3 introduced a Sakura Wars-like system where you develop trust with members of the female cast, culminating in a romance. Even later on, the Persona series successfully implemented Sakura Wars-style elements into its story. but also included time management, just like the old Imperial Theater nighttime rounds. But these are just the story elements. What about the gameplay? One particularly forgotten Sega title, Alpha Protocol, fully implemented the lip system, with morally gray choices and a timer counting down to put on the pressure. But really any branching dialogue game today can thank Sakura Wars for leading the way to this future. The most popular implementation of which is BioWare's Mass Effect series that chose to take a more black and white approach, while also taking the franchise's ability to read data from other games to even greater heights. Last but not least is a rather obscure title named Codename Steam. Developed by Intelligent Systems, the game's combat system is uncannily similar to the ARM system, borderlining on ripping it off. However, Intelligent Systems has worked with Red Company, now Red Entertainment, on the recent Fire Emblem Awakening, so this might be the case. The closest game you're likely to see to a Sakura Wars 6 is Valkyria Chronicles. With much of the Sakura Wars team remaining at Sega, they all decided to work on Valkyria. The game is eerily similar to Sakura Wars, with another alternate history world with wildly unrealistic machinery powered by miraculous technology, gridless real-time tactical combat, a heavy emphasis on developing relationships outside of battle, and how those relationships come into play on the battlefield. Of course, Valkyria Chronicles doesn't have any of the dating sim relationship or time management of Sakura Wars. All of the character development happens on a rail. Conversely, Sakura Wars doesn't have any of the detailed roster management, training, and equipment upgrading mechanics. But the overall feel of the game is the similar semi to fully campy wartime drama with a sentimental bent. But in all of this, what happened to Red Company? Well, after the release of Sakura Wars 5, many left for Sega itself. Staying in the publisher role, the company continued to churn out as much content as they could. Soon enough, however, this ended with their acquisition by Chinese developer Altizen Games Limited. The rights to the franchise stayed firmly in Sega's grasp, but the company had just become another cog in the machine. But to them, the Red in Red Company wasn't just there for fun, it had meaning. Royal Emperor Dragon, that's what they thought of themselves as. And that's what the Sakura Wars franchise was to Japan for a time. But now that meaning had become twisted and contorted. The series was now just a cash grab and cameo franchise, just like the classic Blue Bomber and Mega Man. Only a miracle can save the franchise now. One can only wish. When Oji Hiroi set out to make a new franchise for the Sega Saturn, he wanted to create something that was more unique than anything else. A romanticized past and a derelict future, or what this franchise was and has become. A franchise about mechas, demons, and romance. A franchise that separated itself from the crowd, creating icons aplenty for its Japanese and global audience. The series came to define a generation, one that had been left behind by the rest. Sakura Wars is like one of the cherry blossoms that represent it. Beautiful and breathtaking, yet seldom seen. But now armed with this knowledge, what will you do, viewer? Will you become a fan yourself, shouting the series' name to the masses of the world? Or will you let sleeping dogs lie and go about your day? The choice is yours. But remember one thing, cherry blossoms always bloom once again.
辺に咲く花よ、名もなき花たちよ。
花の命は短くて、
命の限り咲き誇れ。
花の命は短くて、
美しくいよう、今を生きて生きて。
花の命は短くて、
眩しく輝く春の花よ。初めて出会えしあの日を今我が胸に咲き誇る君よ、
涙の数だけ喜びがある。あなたはそれを教えてくれた。命の尊さ、命の素晴らしさ、この想いを永遠に咲かせよう。花の命は短くて、
戦いを終えて人よ恋を語れ。
花の命は短くて、
秘めたる思いは我が胸に。
男と女に恋が生まれて、人の命が輝いている。すべての未来を今こそ抱きしめて、熱い心
命の花よ